Let's record it. So
Good idea.
all right, so I don't know what I'm broadcasting to. I guess I'm broadcasting to my YouTube, personal YouTube. I don't know. So okay. So if we go in here, we did this before. So if we do kind get clusters, right? So if I do kubectl get pods -a, I have a kind cluster here. And you could see all of these core DNS nodes, right? So then if I do docker ps, if I do docker exec -t-i and I exec into one of these calico nodes like this one, and I create a shell, right? Then inside of that shell, I can do route -n, IP route, okay? And then inside of that IP route, right, you could see I've got all these Ethernet devices attached. And then I've got a final Ethernet device attached. And that device is, it's saying anything in the 192.168.88.0 network. Send that. Now that's my pod subnet because my pods are in this 192 IP address range. Anything in that 192, send that over to this IP address. And that is the Docker IP address of my kind node, right? So if I do kubectl get nodes -o wide, oh God, hold on. Yeah. kubectl get nodes -o wide, we'll see that we have these 170, these are the actual nodes of my Docker nodes that are running in kind. Right. So the way my kind clusters work, just as a quick reminder here, is that I've got Docker node, and inside that Docker node, inside of that Docker daemon, I have my first node, and then I have my second node, and I have my third node. And inside of that, I might have pod 3 and pod 4. And like pod 4 maybe has IP address of 192.1.2.3.4. And then maybe, and then node 3, maybe I have pod 5 in here, and that has an IP address of 192.1.2.4.4, right? So there'll be a route that says, so then in that case, I might have a route here for anybody wanting to access that. It'll say 192.1, anybody trying to go to 192.2.4, go there via, node 3's IP address. So if node 3's IP address is 172.18.0.3, then that routing rule will exist on all nodes of my cluster, right? So any questions about that? That sort of makes sense, Friedrich?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how BGP implementation of Calico works. But I could very easily go, and I could go into, so I have this repo here, K8s prototypes. You could see to do the kind cluster here. Let's see. Let me see here. Yeah, so you can see that kind cluster here, and then you could see that in here, I have this calico.yaml. You see this so if you do in here, if you run kind local up, this will create a new cluster for you. Okay, and the way it does that is this calico.yaml file. It will create this calico.yaml file, and in here, you can see in here, there's a configuration somewhere for vxlan. So we can see the vxlan enabled. Yeah, see, it's defaulted to never. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like we don't have it defined in here, but if we look in this YAML, vxlan is in the same place where like IP mode, right? That's not anywhere. NAT outgoing. That's not in there. It's in. Well, you know what? We can just literally look at how we do this in our dev environments, right? So if I go to Vim, source, SIG Windows DevTools 2, and I go to if I go in here and I go to sync Linux, where did we put Calico? I forgot, Friedrich.
For what, which one? We have three different kinds of.
Yeah, the YAML, this one. So if you go in here, you'll see, like, you can try to use this configuration file instead of the one that I had, right? And then you could replace the one in Windows into that kind local up script, right?
I wondered if that is a valid option.
Well, yeah, so like maybe it won't work, right? So you'll find out, right? So like we could do that. We could CP. Actually, I actually have to go. So what I'll do is I'll give you a little snippet here, and then forked calico.yaml. Copy that into source KDS prototypes kind. Do this move right here. You see this, Friedrich?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you do that, right, and sent you that in a Slack message. So if you run that command and then you try to run that and then you do kind local up, it'll try to create a Calico cluster, but that Calico cluster will be that Calico cluster will use this vxlan configuration, and then we'll see if it works or not. And then you can go in there and you can do the same IP route thing, and you could see whether or not routes look the same in vxlan as they do in the BGP mode. So that could be a good little experiment to run. That's maybe a good little, might be a cool blog post to write, you know what I mean, to see how they look different and write up the different results of running IP.route and in the different nodes once you do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to end that broadcast.